Today we're going to look at 6 basic rules for punctuating dialogue and adding it into your story. Now, these are not thrilling. These are not exciting. In fact, they're a little bit tedious. But it's really important that we use proper conventions of English language and communication to convey dialogue in our work. And the rules are actually pretty simple. They're not interesting, but they are finite. They are rules that you can just learn and start to apply in your own writing. So the first thing that you will notice, number one, is that we use quotations to begin and end dialogue. And we separate the quoted material from the dialogue tag with a comma. So I feel like a walk in the park, comma, she said. This comma is a little signpost to the reader that this was something that was being said aloud, and now this is something that's being narrated. It's not being said aloud. Also notice that that little comma goes inside the quotation marks. Number two, put quotation marks and exclamation points on the inside of the quotation marks. So if you have a question or an exclamation by a character in your piece, you'll put that punctuation here. Notice it goes inside the quotation marks. This is a question mark, but it also could be an exclamation mark. And at the very, very end, there is a period on the outside. That says, okay, this whole sentence, this whole idea is over. Rule number 3, capitalize the first word of a quotation. When a character begins talking, it needs to be capitalized. Number 4, when the end of the quotation is also the end of the sentence, the period falls inside of the quotation marks. So number 4 is a little bit different than number 1. This one says, he's going for a walk. She looked lonely as she said it. This sentence doesn't continue on after the quote. This is the end of the sentence. This is all the character has to say. And the narrator isn't going to tell us how he or she said it. So this period goes inside the quotation marks, and then capital letter, you just begin your new sentence right after it. Number 5, periods always go inside the quotation marks. She said, he's going for a walk. Period, inside the quotation marks. Also notice that we're separating what's said from what's not said here with a comma again. You saw that up top in number 1 when the tag came after, but even when the dialogue tag comes in the front, she said, we use that comma to separate what's being spoken in the sentence from what's not being spoken in the sentence. And finally, this is maybe the biggest rule, but when you write dialogue, begin a new paragraph whenever the speaker changes. I'm going for a walk. Jeanette put on her hat and mittens and left the door open a crack, hinting that she wanted me to follow. But I have to put dinner on, I said, yelling so she could hear me. So at first Jeanette's speaking. She says, I'm going for a walk. Jeanette gets her own paragraph. And then when I begin speaking, I get my own paragraph. So dialogue stands out like this. If you look in any novel, you'll see this immediately on the page, that each speaker, each time a character speaks out loud, they get its own line of text. The only time that this doesn't happen is when a character is not necessarily speaking out loud. It's when we're hearing their thoughts. And when we have characters' thoughts being written, those usually go in italics, not in quotation marks, and those can be included inside the regular paragraph. You might choose to emphasize them by giving those thoughts their own paragraph, but it's not required. It is required when something's being said out loud. So I know that this is perhaps not the most thrilling technique, but it is important that if you're going to do it, you do it right. And you use the conventions that your readers are going to understand so that they can follow the dialogue that's happening in your story. You can find this handout in your Google Drive along with the other materials for this writing study, or you can just keep watching this again and again and again to listen to me explain it.